Hello everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I just want to make sure that everybody's hearing me clearly. If you have any problems in listening to this audio, can you please Okay, great. I think you can hear me now. Before I begin, I would like to draw your attention to our page that you are at now. At the bottom of this video page, you can actually see a chat box. Okay, there you'll be able to put in your name and email address. And if I ask you any questions during this webinar today, you can just type in your questions at the bottom there. And for example, the first question is, can you hear me clearly? Can you please type yes or no? Okay, and if you I have a problem listening, or it's blurry, or maybe you can tell me that you can hear me clearly, I would appreciate that very much. Can you do that for me, please? Okay. Thank you. The first person to put in the answer would be ID Rizal. We also have from Shahmi, Nadira. Thank you very much, everyone, for your response. Okay, so what have we covered so far in our legal skill and research methodology subject is topics 1 until 5. Okay, for group A. As I made to understanding, some of you are from group B. I wish you are welcome very much into our webcast today. Okay, there are two parts of our course. The first part would be the legal skills part, which we have already completed today. The second part would be this research methodology part, okay, which involves very much into your course learning outcome of number 2 and also number 3. Okay, why? Because to learn how to do research, okay, as well as to come up with a research proposal would be the outcome for your course, the third outcome of your course. But today we are just getting to know what is research, what is the aims and direction of conducting a research, for example. Okay, so this is essentially what we are going to cover today in our topic 6A, and I have prepared 22 slides, which I do not expect to spend so much time in going through all the slides, but still, I appreciate your presence and your attendance into today's class very much. Okay, so what is research? Because when we talk about research, everybody says, I'm doing research, you're doing research, let's do research. Our class is research methodology, for example. So what is research actually? It starts with three main points. Okay, this is one sentence actually, but I have broken it down into three main sections. Number one, okay, it is a systematic investigation into, okay, now that investigation must be systematic and it follows a sequence which we will be learning from topic 6 until topic number 9, okay, for research. Okay, there are three parts of the course module, okay, for research methodology. Number one is planning your research. Number two is carrying out your research. And number three is reporting your research. Okay, now this systematic investigation is involving a study of materials and sources. So what is it that you are investigating? Actually, you are looking into the materials as well as the sources. For example, okay, you look into textbooks, you look into, because ours is a legal research, so you'll be looking into statutes, you'll be looking into cases, custom, you'll be looking into Hansards, for example, and a lot of sources whether you meet someone to ask their opinion or the perception in the form of interview, or you look at someone for the purpose of observation, for example, because you are researching or you are conducting an investigation over various materials and sources. For what purpose? It is in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. So essentially, you carry out an investigation involving certain materials and sources for the purpose of establishing facts and to reach new conclusions. Okay, now how do we actually do research? Sorry, why do we do research in the first place? Number one, to solve a currently existing problem. Okay, I always give this example in class. When you have a problem, then we carry out research to understand what the problem is all about, and then we want to overcome that problem. For example, people do not read. Malaysians read very little. Okay, it's not the culture of Malaysians to read. So what does the government do? They investigate how to overcome this problem, and ideally they propose tax exemption for books purchase. Okay. Likewise, mm, uh, those sitting at the back in a car, okay, when the car is moving, when the car is traveling, those sitting at the back initially they do not have to wear seat belts, but after certain amount of time there are a lot of accidents, increasing number of accidents taking place involving those sitting at the back, that the government did research. How can we reduce the number of fatalities for the sitting at the back? What they do, they did research and they come up with a proposal to make it compulsory for those sitting at the back. Okay, now the first reason why we do research is because there is a problem. So of course you investigate how to overcome that problem, and the output of that research is a solution to that particular problem. Number two is to contribute to the general body of knowledge in a particular area of interest. Now, if the first one, we call it as applied research because it's an application to what is it that we want to solve there and then, the current problem. The second one is there will be basic or fundamental research, okay? Evergreen topic, something that is goes long and long and long, okay? But still, you want to add further information to add knowledge to that particular area or interest, then we call it as a basic or fundamental research. Now, your research, when you choose a topic for your research proposal, you can choose either it is an applied research, meaning you identify what is the problem and that's why you carry out this research, or you just want to contribute to the general body of knowledge. Now, what are the limitations? So what stops a person from doing research? Okay, because research involves all of this, okay? Time, cost, access to resources, approval, ethical concerns, and expertise. So if we want to say we have to commit to this, then it will immediately become a limitation, an obstacle from a person from doing research. Essentially, okay, for example, if I ask you, the students from my second semester law students, what would be the limitation from you carrying out research? Definitely you're going to say time, okay, because you are taking full-time classes. So where in the world that you want to slot in the time for you to carry out research, for example? You are different from our seniors, from our friends who are doing masters by research or PhD because they are doing full-time or they're doing part-time where they allocate a certain time for them. Second would be cost, because to meet someone, to travel to a certain place, to carry out interviews or observations, then it would involve cost. Access to resources. Okay, we're thinking of conducting research on a certain locality, then you might have a problem with the resources or maybe approval from the authorities, okay? Or ethical concerns. You're thinking about carrying out research, clinical research, for example, and then you're faced with the ethical problem. Is it ethical for us to carry out this research? For example, and also the problem with expertise. I do not have the expertise to carry out research, so I do not want to do research, for example. These are only some of the limitations that we can actually control. Okay, we can try to manage these limitations because people still do research for the obvious reason of solving a problem, for contribution to the body of knowledge, for example. So if time is a problem, so make time. If cost is a problem, so raise funds, for example. Access to resources, try to find a topic which will allow you to gain access to resources, as well as if there is a problem with the approval by the authorities, then do it the proper way. Okay, get approval letters, for example. Now, types of research. You might have heard of these types of research before. Okay, some they mention it as research approach or research, research approach, types of research methodology. Okay, there are two main types. Number one, qualitative research, and number two is quantitative research. If there is a combination between quali and quanti, we call it as a mix between quali and quanti. Some people use the methodological terminology triangulation. Okay, triangulation between qualitative and quantitative. So what are they actually? I just summarize it into this image here that you can see on your screen. Okay, number one, on your left hand side, you have the qualitative method of research, and number two is quantitative method of research. Okay, what does qualitative mean? When this research deals with descriptions rather than numbers. Okay, when you deal with description, for example, it's green, it's delicious, then straight away it becomes qualitative as opposed to numbers. Of course, because descriptions can be observed, but you cannot actually measure it, as opposed to numbers which you can measure. For example, qualitative data would involve colors, textures, smell, taste, appearance. For example, wow, that building is blue in color. The texture is musty. It smells very nice. 20% you cannot say that. Or the dinner we had just now was delicious. 70% you cannot actually say that. Okay, but as opposed to length, height, area, volume, weight, speed, time, temperature, humidity, all these are quantitative data which will involve with quantitative observation. Okay, as opposed to qualitative observation, we're looking into uh, um, the description or what you want to say about something rather than you put in numbers. Now, once I mentioned that, it is clear by now that qualitative will look into the quality or the richness of the data rather than quantitative which looks into the quantity. Okay, qualitative richness of the data or quality of the data. Even one person tells us his opinion or description about something, then we take that data for our reporting, as opposed to quantitative research. Okay, quantitative research would involve numbers, calculations, and the report would very much be in numbers. Okay, I hope it is clear what is the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Now, let me just give you some tests. Okay, qualitative would mean quality or richness of the data, rather than quantitative goes for numbers. Now, let me just test you by looking into this image on your screen right now. Can you take around 30 seconds to look at the image and give me one qualitative observation and one quantitative observation? Can you type in the chat box to tell me what is qualitative? What can you see from the image is qualitative, and what can you see from the image is quantitative? I'll be reading out some responses here without your names, of course. Can you help me with that? Yes, Aina, this is the chat box. Can you please type in there? Very good observation by one of your friends. The qualitative observation would be the orange car. It is red orangey. And the quantitative observation would be there are 4 cows. Okay. Yes, there are 4 cows. This is number 1. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. A red car in the picture, very good. It would be a qualitative observation. Number of ducks. Shishtira, you are already replying to the question. You can just type in your questions in where you type in that you cannot see any questions. That's very good because the questions is asked during the web class session. Now I'm asking it orally. And you can type in your answers in the chat box, please. Aha, that's very good. A red car is on the road. Okay, very good. Qualitative, them are the trees are green in color. There are 3 cows that are grazing the grass. Probably you can see that the cow that you see on your left, it is actually upset because they cannot be reunited with the cows. 3 cows probably is family members on the other side of the river. The first time I see such a response, the picture looks beautiful. Okay, I can further ask you, what do you mean by a beautiful picture? Okay, very good. Yes, Aina, the quantitative is number of ducks and qualitative is the blue river. This is the one person who answers. There is one boy fishing beside the riverbank. That's very good. Number of farm animals. That's very good. The bridge is not functioning well. That is very good. And, okay. A person sitting while fishing. An aeroplane is in the sky. That is a very good observation by your friend. Okay, now we are changing images here. Let's look at this image and see what you can say qualitatively and quantitatively from this image, please. What do you think that is? A strong hurricane. Okay, that's very good. What is it with a strong hurricane? Qualitatively and quantitatively? That one looks red, correct. A bunch of garbage roll up in the hurricane and there is one tent. That is very good because you can see, yeah, there are so many things that have been captured by the hurricane, and the person who just came out from the tent looking very surprised to see that the hurricane is coming on its way. I think, okay, thank you very much, everyone. This whereby anyone can estimate the total loss in this image. Okay, speed of the wind, very good. Cow is very relaxed. Yes, because the cow is very clever. It looks like the hurricane is not coming towards its direction. Speed of the wind is quantitative, very good. The estimated loss caused by the hurricane, this is very good, everyone. Speeding up to avoid the tornado. Okay, yes. Number of cars. Okay, that is very good. So this simple test shows me that you are very clear on what is the difference between qualitative observation and quantitative observation. Okay, having said that, we are moving on to the next slide on assumptions of qualitative. Okay, because there are two, qualitative and quantitative. Now we're looking into the quality of things. Okay, as stated by Mariam 1998, she is one of the leaders of in qualitative research. If we are conducting a qualitative research, we cannot not mention her name in our citation of references. Number one, qualitative researchers are concerned primarily with processes rather than outcomes or products. Okay, how we conduct, what instrument that we use for the research, for example, we are concerned with the process rather than the outcome. Qualitative researchers are interested in the meaning of things. What is the meaning of the hurricane coming? What is the meaning of the person in the van just now? Okay, let's look at the van. What can we describe from this van? Because we look at the antennas on top of the van, we can assume that this is a news broadcaster. Okay, even on the body of the van, it says Hurricane Watch. So we can actually say that it is probably it is reporting on this hurricane when in fact the hurricane is coming. So a lot of description that we can give to this image, only to come to the conclusion that we are interested in the meaning if we're conducting a qualitative research. The qualitative researcher is the primary instrument for data collection and data analysis. Okay, because the researcher is the person doing the data collection. You go and interview people because you want to understand certain things. You go and observe a certain scenario because you want to know what is happening or what is taking place at one area. Okay, the data are mediated through this human instrument rather than through inventories, questionnaires, or machines. Of course, these are instruments, but the person moving this instrument are the researchers. The researchers are the ones who is the primary instrument in data collection in a qualitative research. It involves fieldwork. Okay, fieldwork would mean rather than you sit at one location, you actually engage with other people who can inform you of the data, inform you of the statements in relation to the subject matter that you are researching. For example, I want to examine the efficiency of the road traffic accident or a certain law which has been passed to regulate a certain type of accident, okay, at urban roads in Malaysia. Okay, so we go and meet the police officer, we go and meet the villageman, we go and meet the people who have been involved in the accident, for example, medical doctors who have been involved in medical examination of those meeting accidents. Okay, the researcher physically goes to the people, setting, site, or institution to observe or record behavior in its natural setting. Qualitative research is descriptive in that the researcher is interested in the process, meaning, and understanding gained through words or pictures. We go and take the pictures of the road, we go and take the pictures of the accident scene, of the cars that met with an accident, the injury of the people who met with the accident, for example, because we want to understand when we have this law, people observe this law, but why accidents still happen? Is it because of the enforcement, for example? Okay, the process of qualitative research is inductive, okay, in that the researcher builds abstractions, concepts, or hypotheses and theories from details. In our next class, we are going to talk a little bit more on inductive research versus deductive research, which is quite an interesting topic for understanding the data that we have in front of us. Okay. Now, quantitative methods, on the other hand, would involve something very different from what we have covered just now. What we have covered, what Mariam said, for qualitative research is all about the process of understanding a certain phenomena, a certain scenario or situation, rather than quantitative methods, which involve descriptive statistics, graphical and numerical techniques for summarizing data, because they are describing as well, but they are describing it quantitatively, like what everybody have done just now, because you have mentioned me, there are 3 cows, there are how many houses, there is one tent, for example, there are multiple cans behind the car, there is one aeroplane flying, for example. You have mentioned to me the quantitative description for the images that you have seen. Okay, now additionally, apart from only describing those quantitative data, a quantitative research will also involve analyzing qualitatively. Quantitative analytics, which involve inferential statistics, procedures for making generalizations about characteristics of a population based on information. Let me just make this bigger because it's like okay, all right. Procedures for making generalizations about characteristics of a population based on information obtained from a sample taken from that population. A study on these 7,000 students at UUM, we found we cannot go and meet these 7,000 students in order to know their perception on whether they read news from newspaper or they watch news from TV3 news or they scroll on their Facebook wall. Okay, how do students actually get to know the current news? Is it by number one, read newspapers? Number two, um, uh, watch news on the television. Or number three, they read on their Facebook wall. So we cannot go and meet the 7,000 students, but we just take a sample from that population, a certain percentage, 5%, 10%, in order for us to generalize, okay, I have met with 70 students, which is 1% of the entire population, 70 students, and I find that majority of them actually read on their Facebook wall in order for them to know the current news. Okay, so therefore, it can be summarized that UUM students like to know or get to know current news from Facebook wall, for example. Okay, that's just an example, because when we're doing quantitative analysis, you don't actually go and dig deeper into the perception or understanding or the usage of the students, 7,000 students. Rather, we just pick a sample, and that from that sample we generalize to the entire population. Okay, now these are the terminologies used in our research. We use the word population. Okay, any set of individuals, which, for example, just now I use the population would be 7,000 UUM students. They have common observable characteristics. Okay, obviously, sample would be a certain small group within that population. The sample is 5%, for example. The sample is 10% from the entire population. A sample consists of respondents or subjects. An informant is a person from whom a researcher or linguist obtains information about language, dialect, or culture. A person from whom a lawyer obtains information about the law, the cases, the certain phenomena that is happening. Okay, a corpus is a collection of a written. Let me just make this. Here it's underline. Sample would be the word that we use. Okay. A corpus would be a collection of a written or spoken material, in the sense that it is your data. And this is equally important. Okay, types of sampling. How do you actually choose? You know you have 7,000 students, but how do you actually choose who do you want to investigate on? Based on probability and based on non-probability. Probability would provide a better um, um, uh, explanation to why you actually choose, as opposed to non-probability. Okay, probability will involve simple random sampling, cluster random sampling, stratified random sampling, and systematic random sampling. I do not wish to go very deep into this, because in one of our topics later on, which is planning your research, we will talk a little bit more on each of these types of sampling. Okay, now probability sampling. second one would be non-probabilistic sampling, okay, which is convenience, judgment or purposive sampling, quota sampling, as well as snowballing sampling. We have examples for each and every one of these, which I will be explaining in greater detail when we meet face to face later on. Now, this is very important. When I say it's very, because even our course syllabus contains these three main research process in the planning, implementation, as well as the reporting. Okay, now this is the generic process when we want to conduct a research. Okay, number one, we have not gone through any of these topics yet, Okay, of course, I'm sure you have realized that because topics 7, planning, 8, implementation, and 9, reporting. Okay, now it's just an overview. We have two parts of this overview. Overview 1 would be introduction to research methodology, the one that we are having the web class today. And when we meet next time, we are going to talk about overview of legal research methodology. All right, now research process. Number 1, planning. Planning would involve choosing a topic. What topic do you want to do? Okay, for example, once you have chosen a topic, you are going to identify the research questions and objectives. Okay, research questions. What questions do you want to ask yourself? What questions do you want to answer by carrying out this research? And number 2 would be the objectives. Again, what is it that you wish to achieve by carrying out this research? Okay, you answer the research questions, you achieve the research objectives. In the planning process as well, we will be reading past literature because we want to do literature review. We are so excited coming up with a very unique title or unique topic for our research, only to find out there are already 20 past research which have been conducted like what we wanted to conduct. Okay, for example. So it would be very dangerous. So when we are finalizing our topic, questions and objective, we also read literature in order to show that this literature, this is past research, what has been conducted on this subject matter. And we also conceptualize or determine the methods. What is it that you want to use? Do you want to interview? Do you want to observe? Do you want to do a focus group? Do you want to call? Do you want to do an online survey, for example? There are tons of instruments that we can use, okay? So that you decide during the planning process. What is most important, whatever instruments that you want to use later on, those instruments will enable you to collect the data that you want, because this data will actually help you to answer the research questions and meet the research objectives. Okay, now next, once you have done that, the planning is all in place. You have a research plan, you have a research proposal. Aha, this is the keyword. Research proposal. Why do I emphasize on the word research proposal? It is because it will involve your group assignment. Okay, for both groups A and group B, the third course learning outcome for legal research methodology, legal skills and research methodology is coming up with a research proposal. Okay, depending on the number of group members that we will decide later on. Okay, what you are going to do is you are going to include all these at the planning stage. Your research proposal, at the end of the planning stage, you are going to come up with a research proposal. You're going to present that research proposal in class, because marks are awarded for the research proposal written report as well as your group presentation. Okay, you're going to put in the topic, you're going to identify the questions and objective, you're going to put in the scope, the limitations, the past literature, you're going to do a literature review, and you are also going to explain what methods you wish to engage or employ in carrying out your research. You will not be doing data collection in this subject. You will not, but you will have to identify what other methods you want to use. And then we're going to discuss further on implementation. Implementation simply means you want to go out there and go and carry out your research. You go for data collection, both library-based as well as fieldwork. You need to compile data in the forms of text, images, audio, video, etc. and you are going to do the data analysis. Okay, now you go and meet someone to interview, and then you get that data, you come back, you transcribe that data in the form of words, and then what you do is you are going to read through the interview transcript in order to see what do your respondents actually mean. Okay, from that, you are going to do the reporting. Do the reporting based on the research that you have undertaken. Okay, which is very interesting. And then how do you actually select a topic? This is a very simple suggestions that we put. You go from your personal experience. Okay, you have come across a problem or an issue before. So what you do is you based on your personal experience, this is your topic, for example. Or even if you have not that experience yet, you will go for something that you are curious to find out. Curiosity based on something in the media. You've read a lot in the media, you've read a lot on social media, for example, and you think, this is an interesting topic. What I want to do is I want to investigate it. Or the state of knowledge in the field, something that you are expected to know in your legal field, or social premiums, okay, or personal values, something that you know. Okay, now research questions and objective begins with the words such as how, what. All these are WH questions. Tell the reader what you are attempting to discover, to generate, to explore, to identify, or to describe. You will ask what happened, okay, in order to describe what happened in the accident. Did the person wear a seatbelt? Was he sitting in front? Was he sitting at the back? What law will govern now? Okay, ask what was the meaning to people of what happened in order to understand further. When you are driving, did you realize that you went through the red light? Did you realize how long later that you realized that the cops were running, were hailing you to stop your car, for example? Okay, ask what happened over time in order to explain. Okay, after you run the red lights, what do you do? Do you go left or right? Okay, after that, what do you do? After that, what do you do? This is all to understand further the situations. Okay. Literature review. Why do you read past literature? Some of the main reasons are: number one, you build knowledge on the subject matter. We read what other people have written because we're doing research on cyber law. You have to read on cyber law in order for you to gain knowledge on cyber law. If you don't read, how are you supposed to know about cyber law? Okay. Second reason is you want to learn about previous research and methodologies. Okay, I know that there are 10 other research that have been conducted on cyber law which engage in the methodology of experiment, for example. So we are not going to repeat what other researchers have already done because we want to avoid duplication. That's all about it. Why are we repeating something which has already been reported, established, and accepted? Okay, rather than we come with something that we can develop or twist the theoretical framework and methodological focus. Fortunately, I found out that those past research are actually involving cases in the United States. Okay, the sample is different. Now, my research is involving the Malaysian sample, for example. Okay, or they are looking into the impact of murder law while I am looking into the impact of theft law. Okay, for example. That is the process what we call as identifying the research gap. Okay, whereby you want to justify, these people have done this, they have done that, but they have not done this particular thing. I want to investigate this particular thing and test it on the Malaysian market. Okay, for example, this is the main reasons why we read past literature. And you prepare the questions and objective. You have already read the past research. You're going to determine what methods you want to use. You're going to decide what approach first. Is it qualitative, quantitative, or is it mixed? Okay, and then you're going to decide what are the design of the research, which I'm not going to go very deep into this. Okay, design which actually help you to decide what instruments that you should use. Is it interviews, focus groups, observation, survey, and etc. And then when you come back, you will have data in your hand. Okay, the data will be in multiple formats. They're going to be text, images, audio, video as well. And now the time has come because we have the data in hand already. What is it we're going to do with it? We are going to analyze it because we need to report that data in our hand. There are a lot of ways in order to do analysis. Two main methods are: number one, manual analysis. What is it that you're going to do with it manually? And number two is using computer aided analysis. Okay, now manual analysis would involve a lot of ways. Number one would be paper and scissors. You print them out. On colored papers, and we use scissors to cut through the papers all the important points, and you put it into one section. Okay, for example, for your research question number one, you're gonna cut the paper and put it in one place, and then another place, and then the third place, for example. Okay, and the next one would be pens and papers, or they will use sticky notes. For example, here, okay, you will sticky notes. We use those stick-on notes because it's sticky. You can paste it and reseal it somewhere else. Okay, you can also use sticky notes. You can also use pens and papers. You just do the highlighting on a piece of paper, or you can also build tables inside of Microsoft Word or Excel. What information that you want to put into the columns and the rows. These are what we call as manual analysis of your research data. Alternatively, we can also go for computer-aided analysis. This is computer-aided softwares. Okay, as you can see, these are your seniors. I have asked them to take a photo on one of our books, which is a qualitative software for Atlas TI. Okay, we also have other softwares such as Vivo, MaxQRA, and etc. as well, which I do not intend to go very deep into your session. Okay, whereby these topics for the analysis process, okay, manual analysis versus computer-aided analysis. What is important I want to emphasize here, okay, is that there are tons of ways in which we can do the analysis, which we will be discussing in classes, and Dr. Haslinda will be sharing in her class as well on how do we actually do the data analysis. Once we have the data in hand, you have images that you have captured during fieldwork, you have video observations, you go into a classroom, you do the observation, and then now you come back, you want to analyze that data. How do we actually analyze that data? We are going to learn them in our upcoming classes. Okay. Meanwhile, do you have any questions? Because we have come to the end of our web class today. My aim was to share with you three important things. Number one, overview of research methodology, the processes involved, number two, difference between qualitative and quantitative observation, which we did the activity just now. And number three, once we know what are the generic processes, we go for determining the title, question, and objective. We do the literature review, purposes of literature review, and then we go for data collection. We come back with the data. We have to analyze them. This is the main aim of our web class today. Do you have any questions? Can you please type in the chat box because I want to see, okay, if there are any questions at all. Okay. Nur Hafiza Abdul Rashid, yes, I get all your answers actually. Unfortunately, I do not read all everyone's answers, but you have answered correctly. Okay, I get them. Thank you very much for participating. Now, I just need your help for the last thing before we leave today. Okay, because I promised to finish at 9:30. We are going to finish way ahead of that. Okay, I need you to type in the chat box. Yes, according to the question by our friend Siti Nur Intan Shakida, yes, you need to present the proposal. But that depends because in my class in Group A, we are going to present that in class, and I do not have the idea for Dr. Haslinda's class. How do I say this? There are marks for presentation. But there are many modes of presentation. For Group A, yes, you need to present in class. Any questions? Any other questions, please? Okay, while you're thinking of any questions at all, can you please just give me a short feedback of your experience in learning this web class today? Can you please uh, tell me uh, your experience? Okay, was the internet connection okay? Can you learn? Can you follow through the discussion? Um, Example, okay, can you please help me with this? Because I just want to get your feedback about your experience in participating in a web class. There is one question though by Amira Ilyana. She asks, what is the difference between research method and research methodology? Research methodology is a larger scope from research method because research method is the approach that we undertake in order for achieving a certain aspect, okay, whereby a research methodology is the entire framework for you achieving these questions and objectives. Anyone have any problems with internet connection? I'm asking because I do get some response from the previous semesters when I do this session. They say that the connection was not very good. Hence, the reason why in class today I mentioned that please make the effort to go to a location which is okay for your connection because some student residential areas that the internet is okay. Some other places the internet is not very okay. Hi, Afira. I say hi, Afira, because she said, hi, madam. I think that was how it's supposed to be pronounced. Okay, okay, this is very good. Yeah. Thank you, Hafiza. Internet is good and you can follow me clearly. Okay, that's good. Wow, in Kachi, strong connection? I think I want to move there then. Hmm. Yeah, I'm still waiting for some of your responses. Mm, okay, for those who have already given your responses, thank you very much for participating in our web class today. I'm also happy because I can replace the slot that I am missing on Tuesday. Okay, on Tuesday, we're not going to have face to face class for Group A. This is the class that we are replacing with that one. Okay, and I am glad that you make the effort to come here today. Zulaika wants me to move to Kachi, but Marisa says there are monkeys in Kachi. Okay, this is a question, an interesting one. I wonder if we need license to do research, like private investigation or something. No, it's not a stupid question, Ashida. Um, Zulaika wants me to call out her name. Okay, Ashida, it depends on what type of research that you are conducting. Normally, if it is a clinical research, you would need the consent from the person you are investigating. But if it is like normally, okay, when we obtain a research grant, lecturers are given a research grant, students, masters and PhD, they are given a research grant. For example, they need to like fulfill this certain approval, okay, from the sponsor. If we want to conduct research involving prisons, then you need to get approval from the prison. Like my case last time, I did investigation involving courts. I went to Kuala Lumpur courts, Penang courts, Kota Kinabalu courts, and Kuching courts. So I need to get the approval from a Palace of Justice, okay, the Chief Registrar's Office. Okay, that is very good. Do we have tutorial class for this Wednesday? Do you want tutorial class, Fabian? Unfortunately, I will not be around in Kedah on Wednesday and Thursday. So you are going to meet me face to face on Sunday. Wi-Fi is the main point, madam, not the monkey. I will try to consider if I want to move to Kachi or not. It seems that you are very persuasive. You're not binding, but you are persuasive. Sounds like our discussion on judicial precedent, right? Okay, all right. So that's it. We are going to meet face to face on Sunday. Next Sunday. Okay, and thank you very much, everyone, for coming to our web class today. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.